Hey, welcome back to the Cybersecurity Whisperer, the podcast that makes sense of security headlines and keeps you ahead of the chaos. I'm your host, Elliott Franklin, CISO by trade, Whisperer by night. It's Sunday, July 20th, and we've got another jam-packed episode loaded with breaches, bugs, and baffling attacks. So buckle up and let's dive in. First up, imagine this. A hacker sitting quietly on the side of the tracks, laptop in hand, sends a wireless command, and a freight train screeches to a halt, or even worse, derails. Unfortunately, that's not Hollywood. That's CVE 2025-1727. It's a newly discovered vulnerability affecting train braking systems in the United States. Now, the flaw exploits weak authentication in the radio protocol between the end of the train and the head of the train devices. Now, researchers say it's easy to exploit and could allow attackers to send their own brake commands, potentially disrupting critical freight lines or even military logistics. Now, the sad part is the industry, they've known about this issue since 2012, but meaningful fixes aren't expected until 2027. Now, the CISA, the United States, the cyber agency, they are urging mitigation now to segment your OT networks, firewall the systems, and kill remote access where possible. The bottom line, if we don't take railway security seriously, someone else might. Now, over in the firewall land, Fortinet, they're under siege yet again. The FortiWeb Fabric connector has a critical SQL injection flaw. It's being labeled CVE 2025-25257. It's already being exploited in the wild. Attackers can inject unauthorized commands through crafted web requests. And at one point this past week, over 80 instances were globally compromised already. And this isn't theoretical. Shadow Server has the receipts. So Fortinet urges customers to patch immediately or just disable the affected interface altogether. Now, if your organization uses FortiWeb and you haven't acted yet, stop listening right now and get patching. Now, department store Belk, they're the latest victim of the DragonForce ransomware cartel. This group claims to have exfiltrated about 156 gigs of data in May, and this isn't DragonForce's first rodeo. They've been tied to breaches at Marks & Spencer, Harrods, Victoria's Secrets, and more. Now, DragonForce, they operate as a ransomware as a service platform, meaning different affiliates use the same infrastructure, but they act really independently. So attribution is really muddy, but the tactics, they're loud and clear. Grab data, post leaks, and demand payment. Meanwhile, Scattered Spider, also known or being tracked as Octo Tempest, they're mutating again. Microsoft reports they've shifted tactics and now they're targeting VMware ESX hypervisors first, and then they move into cloud environments. It's not the first time we've heard of that. They're also using adversary in the middle techniques and abusing SMS flows. What's even scarier, they're now deploying DragonForce ransomware, showing just how entangled these threat groups have become. So if you're not training your help desk on impersonation attacks, you might be the next target. Well, we couldn't have an episode without talking AI. A Team 8 report finds that 25% of CISOs have faced AI-driven attacks in the last year, and the most suspect that the number is really higher. Why? It's because that these threats, they look like human behavior, and so it really makes them much harder to detect. Now, CISOs say these AI security risks, they now outrank even third-party risk and vulnerability management. And they're worried about rogue AI agents or shadow AI use and the unintended consequences of tools like Copilot or Gemini. Interesting, while AI causes anxiety, 78% of CISOs, they still want to use it to replace SOC roles and pen testing and even access reviews. So welcome to this paradox. The tool might take your job and is also your best chance at saving it. Next, this is crazy. We always talk about multi-factor and how it can be socially engineered, but if we use FIDO keys, well, that's impossible. Well, unfortunately, enter a threat actor called PoisonSeed. Now, PoisonSeed, they found a workaround using cross-device sign-in, and here's exactly how it works. A phishing email, of course, lures the user to a fake login page. Then that site grabs the username and password, and when the real service prompts for the FIDO key, the attacker just clicks, "I don't have the key, let's use a QR code instead." Well, the server then responds with a cross-device sign-in QR code. That's the kind you'd normally scan with your phone. And so then the phishing site shows the real QR code to the victim. The victim, of course, they think it's legit. They scan it on their phone, and then boom, the attacker is now logged in as a fully authenticated user. I mean, it's elegant, terrifying, and it doesn't actually exploit FIDO itself. It's just how it integrates into the login ecosystem. So if your authentication flow allows for fallback methods like QR or SMS, make sure they're tightly controlled and educate your users, because this attack is so slick it really feels like magic. Well, end of life doesn't mean end of risk. Google's threat intel group warns you, that UNC 6148, they've been targeting SonicWall SMA 100 appliances since late 2024, and they've recently dropped a new backdoor called Overstep, and this modifies the boot process. It steals your OTP seeds, and it enables long-term access. Now, SonicWall says it's accelerating the product's official retirement, but that's cold comfort if you're still running it. Speaking of AI, here's one for the AI crowd. Researchers found a prompt injection attack against Google's Gemini that works via email summaries. I mean, this kind of goes back to what we talked about with the research papers that college students were writing, and they were putting hidden prompts in the research paper so that when the professors, put it through the AI grader, it would say only give positive scores. What this does is hiding malicious instructions in white font text or invisible HTML. Attackers can tell Gemini to include deceptive messages like call this fake number immediately. I mean, it's a big reminder, LLMs like Gemini, they aren't just summarizers, they're programmable via text. And that makes them part of your next threat surface. So scrub inputs, apply guardrails, don't let your AI speak for the enemy. Now, finally, a new study from CyberCube in Munich Re says a global malware attack could compromise 25% of all computers, with 15% fully taken over. Think about it, a 72-hour cloud outage, that could cost companies 1% of annual revenue in one day. And their advice is segmentation, backups, and patch discipline. I mean, talk about the basics. If you're not tabletop exercising for a cyber Cat 5 storm, well, you're betting on sunshine forever. You need to start working on this. As CISOs, we don't get to say no very often, whether it's balancing MFA friction with hospital workflows or choosing between a Cadillac security tool and your actual budget. The job is all about trade-offs. Well, the good news is you're not alone. Learn to speak the language of risk, build trust with the business, and don't be afraid to say, yes, but here's the cost. Because at the end of the day, cybersecurity, it's not about the perfect control. It's about resilient decisions. And that's a wrap this week. Cybersecurity Whisperer, I'm Elliott Franklin. Keep leading with clarity, patch like your job depends on it, and always whisper wisely. And if you've liked this episode, subscribe, share it with your fellow security leaders, drop a review, and until next week, stay out there and stay safe.